Hey guys, how are you? For those who follow me and know who I am, welcome back. And for those who don't, my name is Andrina and I tell true crime stories, specializing more towards, unfortunately, the children. True crime stories because I feel like there's not enough awareness and people telling their stories. And I think more people should do this to bring hopefully justice to these sweet babies and innocent victims who at the end of the day are voiceless and have no way to voice the abuse that's going on with them. And today I'm going to be telling the story of Alissa Guernsey. Her story was actually brought up to me by somebody who reached out to me, and unfortunately her photos did slip into one of the other baby's videos, which is Brianna Loveless. If you haven't seen her video, go ahead and check it out. But it's very unfortunate what's going on with these babies. But let's get right to it. Remember, warning, viewer discretion is advised. This is Alissa Guernsey. She was born on November 2nd, 2007 in Indiana, and tragically her life would be taken at 16 months old by a family member by her mother's cousin, Christy Schaefer. In November 2008, Alissa's father, Michael, was tragically killed in a car accident. Kelly Sprunger, Alissa's mother, did not cope well with his death and would be consumed by grief and severe depression. Kelly was unable to care for her children, and Kelly's cousins, Christy Schaefer, offered to take Alissa and her two siblings until Kelly got back on her feet. Unfortunately, while the children were in Christy's care, Kelly failed to keep in contact with the caseworkers and would be cited for neglect. Alissa and her siblings were made wards of the state in Steuben County, Indiana. They were officially placed under the care of Matt and Christy Schaefer. During that time, Kelly returned to drug use. It was stated that not even the pediatrician of Alissa took notice to all the bruises that were going on with her, but Christy continuously took baby Alissa to the doctors, and specialists claiming her hair was mysteriously falling out, and also said that she was puzzled as to why Alissa was bruising so easily. Alissa had been to multiple specialists in Elkhart and Riley's Children's Hospital, none of which could ever find anything medically wrong with her after multiple rounds of blood testing. During this time, Christy Schaefer kept Alissa's mother from visiting with her, but not with her other two children, who were also in Christy's care. Christy would torture and beat Alissa for 110 days until on March 28, 2009, when Alissa left this world after her body could take no more abuse. On that tragic day, Christy and all the children were driving, and Alissa was in the car seat behind her. During some time that car ride, Christy became frustrated with Alissa and started to beat Alissa before grabbing her by the hair and banging her head multiple times against the car seat hard enough to cause fatal injuries. After multiple strikes, Alissa lost consciousness. She was beaten into a coma. Christy then continued on driving to rent a movie and onto the McDonald's drive-thru. She then drove home and got all the kids situated with their food as Alissa's comatose body sit strapped into her car seat. Finally, after several hours, she called her brother, who worked as an EMT. Upon arrival, her brother noticed that Alissa was cold to the touch and had no heartbeat, so he immediately called 911. Alissa was then rushed to the hospital, where a team of doctors desperately tried to save the little girl's life for 45 minutes. Despite their hardest efforts, baby Alissa was pronounced dead on March 28, 2009 at 9:54 p.m. She was only 15 months old. Following an autopsy, 2 medical examiners reported that Alissa had been dead for hours before help had been called. Her death was ruled a homicide due to blunt force trauma to the head. Additionally, she was covered in bruises, marks, and lacerations consistent with a pattern of prolonged abuse. Her internal injuries were just as horrific as her external injuries. Most of the marks were focused on her head. Her arm was broken, which meant Alissa was in agonizing pain prior to her death. The inside of her mouth were gouged into 2 open sores. Soon after, Christy Schaefer was arrested but never charged with her murder. Instead, she was only convicted of a singular count of a Class B felony and neglect of a dependent. She would end up serving only 77 days in jail. On May 25, 2011, Circuit Court Judge J. Scott Vanderbeek sentenced Schaefer to 10 years in prison, suspending 6 of them On August 11th that year, he modified her sentence to serve only the 77 days, freeing her to 6 months of home detention and 3 years of probation. By 2014, Christy had violated her probation by allowing meth to be manufactured in her home, along with failing drug tests. In addition, the autopsy also found bleeding to Alissa's skull and an inch-long cut inside of her mouth that started to heal, and multiple facial bruises. There was also a settlement that was between the mother and DCS, and they agreed to pay her $150K for their involvement in Alissa's death. Apparently, according to the DCS, it says that the toddler died from unexplained injuries in early 2009, a few months after she was placed with the Sprunger's cousin, Christy Schaefer. Christy would end up claiming that she didn't know how Alissa received her injuries and denied striking the toddler. The lawsuit claimed that the DCS caseworker assigned to the case did not pay enough attention to the frequency of the girl's injuries. The caseworker no longer works for the agency. In November 2013, Christy would end up violating her probation again due to drug use, and she would go back to prison, this time serving more time than she did for the murder of Alissa Guernsey. So I will play some videos for you. One of the TV news was interviewing the judge that was handling this case. And guys, I have to say, it's completely disgusting what this judge has done. He handed this to the grand jury and basically left them their decision to convict Christy Schaefer or not, and his involvement with her family. Like, the guy actually knew her father, and you would just see that poor Alissa got no justice. And yeah, this case is completely appalling, because how can you serve only 77 days for taking someone's life, and not someone's life, a child's life, someone who has no voice, someone who can't say anything at 15, 16 months old. You can't. But guys, I'll show you guys those clips, and I just want to let you know, remember that I love you guys, and to remember to always take care, and I appreciate you guys for following me and watching my videos, and remember that this is all for them, that they get the justice they deserve, hopefully one day, and if not, to spread awareness, hopefully to save other little babies like them. But I'll catch you on my next one, guys. Take care. Bye.
Expected Christy Schaefer to be charged with child abuse or manslaughter or even murder, but the LaGrange County prosecutor didn't file charges at all. Instead, he did something he had never done in 10 years as a prosecutor. He convened a grand jury, and he let them decide whether to charge Christy Schaefer. Based on evidence presented by the prosecutor, the grand jury decided to indict Schaefer on a much lesser charge, neglect of a dependent.
Why was a grand jury called in this case? Why wasn't she just charged by you in the first place?
It was a very controversial case.
Prosecutor Jeff Weibel did not want to sit down for an interview, so I spoke with him outside his office.
It wasn't clear to me what the best charge would be, so I thought a grand jury would be the best remedy for that.
Vanderbeck accepted Schaefer's plea. He could have sentenced her to 20 years in prison. But Schaefer had no criminal history, and her court file was stuffed with more than 100 letters from family and friends asking the judge for mercy. The judge sentenced Schaefer to just 4 years behind bars. And at the same time, he extended an unusual invitation. He told Schaefer to come back in a couple of months to have her sentence reduced even further. It seems a lot of people know Christy Schaefer's family.
Are you friends with the family? Do you know the father?
I know Christy Schaefer's father. He's a banker here in town, and I've spoken with him on occasion, but he's never been a client of mine, and I've never done any work for him.
The judge knows him too. Carrie Sprunger is the senior vice president and senior loan officer of the biggest bank in LaGrange. 13 Investigates obtained a court transcript where Judge Vanderbeck admits, "I know Mr. Sprunger. He's been on some boards with me. I know he's got a good heart. And I think I went to a baseball game with his son, so I wouldn't do that if they were bad people." I asked the judge about his relationship with the defendant's family. He told me he cannot discuss the case at all because of ethical rules for judges.